Hey guys, Colorado Camperman Brian here. So in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to de-winterize your camper and get it ready for the camping season. So there's a lot of different products and items I'm going to be using. I'll put Amazon links in the description to where you can find those. We got a lot to do, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we are starting back here at our water heater. I have this tank rinser that we're going to put in here because sometimes you do get sediment that sits at the bottom of your tank heater. So we're going to go ahead and rinse that out. You can see we definitely have some nasty discoloration there. You might be able to see there's some sediment coming out here. Gonna let that drain out, and then we're gonna put our anode rod back in here to plug it up. You may have a nylon one, or you may have a self-sacrificing one like we do. Now we're gonna go ahead and put our anode rod in here. I'm actually going to be filling this up and then re-draining it. You guys will see what we're doing here, but these anode rods are a little difficult to get in. Some people have troubles with it. You have to kind of lift it up because it is heavy, but we're just gonna make this a little tight here because like I said, we are gonna drain it again later. While I'm down here, I'm also got my flashlight on my phone here just to make sure that there's no nests or anything in the burner. So now we are over where our fresh water tank fill is, and we are going to use some of this Spring Fresh. This is a tank deodorizer and cleaner. Ever since we've owned a self-contained unit, we've used this, and this really makes sure that your tanks don't stink and you won't ever have any dirty or nasty water coming out. Some people also use bleach. We've had good luck with this, so we're going to use this. Now that we have the Spring Fresh in our tank, it says to go ahead and fill it 2/3 of the way full, and we're also going to jump inside and turn our water pump on. It says it's okay to go in your water heater, and it's not a problem. So this is our water heater bypass. So now we're going to go ahead and flip that so water will go into the water heater. And then we're going to go ahead and flip our water pump on. In order to pressurize your system, a lot of times you will have to open up your valves. We use compressed air to winterize our camper, so that's why you don't see any pink antifreeze coming out. And of course, you don't want to forget your toilet. Now, we use the Thetfurt toilet seal over the winter time, which that's another product I'll show you guys, and I definitely recommend, because as you can see, there's actually still some of that lubricant in here, which is awesome. This is supposed to help keep your toilet seal lubed up and keep it in good working order. So we do want to get all the air out of here and get this flowing with water as well. That is just the blue gel from the toilet seal. If you guys do have an outdoor shower, you want to make sure that this line is pressurized as well too. All right guys, so you can see we are 2/3 full on our water tank, and also our lines are all pressurized. The Spring Fresh instructions now say to agitate your tanks. You can do this by just rocking your camper back and forth, which is probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to do stuff like replace some light bulbs and just some general cleaning. Or you can hook your camper up and go for a drive and agitate your tanks that way. Man, this bulb is bad. So this is a thing that you definitely want to do. And like I said, this is what I'm doing while I'm kind of rocking the camper back and forth. I don't have our jacks down or anything, so it's a little tippy in here. But I'm replacing these old LED bulbs with some newer ones. Again, I'll put Amazon links in the description. Right, I got some other cleaning stuff done, but I'm just gonna kind of rock our camper back and forth. You can hear my blinds shaking. Oh yeah, that's good. So now that we have agitated the water in our tank, I am going to go ahead and open up the lines. Spring Fresh actually says you need to have water running for 2 minutes through your lines. So I'm going to set a timer and get that going. So you can see here we are getting a little bit of bubbly residue here. So the Spring Fresh is definitely in that tank, and it is definitely cleaning things up. All right, there is 2 minutes. All right, so the Spring Fresh water now says to drain your tank and literally rinse and repeat. So we are going to drain this, and then it says to fill your tank up and rinse it 2 times. We don't usually do that. What we will do is we will fill it about 1/3 of the way full right now, kind of agitate it, run that clean water through the lines, and then we'll just fill up our tank. And on the first camping trip, we will just make sure to not drink the water. And we're usually fine doing it that way. Here we go. All right, so we are going to go ahead and drain the water heater again. Obviously, you want to make sure that your water heater is off and not turned on at all. And your water pump needs to be off too. So I am collecting as much of the water as possible because I'm just gonna use it on trees and some landscaping stuff around our house, because you do kind of waste a lot of water with this process. So as we're waiting for our freshwater tank to drain, we are going to do some work on the toilet here. I just bought this little case of drop-ins. We're going to go ahead and put one of the deodorizers in the toilet. Okay, and then the Thetford toilet seal lubricant that I had talked about, it says to do it at the end of the season and then at the start of the new season. And what you're supposed to do with this stuff is put 1/4 of the bottle in here and let it sit for a minimum of 8 hours. And again, that just kind of helps condition your toilet seal that you have in there. It just keeps it lubricated so that you have smooth flushes and you don't get any odors or anything coming up, because we have had some issues with our toilet seal. Just realized my arm's in the way, sorry about that. Alright guys, well that's pretty much it as far as the de-winterizing of your camper. Now, what we're going to do is go through the stuff that we do to our camper to make sure that it's ready for the camping season. One thing that's important is that you go around and you check all your appliances and make sure that they're in good working order, that they sound good, that they fire up, and you have no issues, because the last thing you want to do is be out on the road and know that, oh, hey, my furnace doesn't work, or my stove doesn't work, or something like that. So we're just going to go around and check all of our appliances, starting with the microwave here. Just going to make sure that baby's working. Seems to be going good. As I'm here, I'm checking the fan, our exhaust fan, make sure that's working. I just got our propane tanks full earlier today, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the propane on and make sure that the stove and the refrigerator work on the propane setting. There she goes. Alright, so I'm just going to double check and make sure all of the flames work. And then I'm going to make sure our oven lights up as well. Our oven is going as well. Alright guys, so we are over at our fridge and freezer right now. We're going to check to make sure that it works on the propane setting. We primarily use our fridge actually on the propane setting. So we definitely need to make sure that it works. I can hear the igniter just kicked on. Cool, it just lit. Now that we've tried the propane setting on our fridge, I have it turned to the electric, and I'm going to go ahead and throw one of these baking soda things, one in the freezer and one in the fridge, and then have the door all sealed up. And we're just going to go ahead and let this go. Now, you do want to test out your water heater. However, if you're still not done with the rinsing process of the Spring Fresh, you got to hold off until that's 100% done. I'm not done with that now. I've been running around and doing that. So I will test my water heater when I'm completed with that, both on the propane setting and the electric setting. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and see if the furnace and the AC are working. So we'll start with the furnace first. So there she goes. And then you do want to inspect the piping and stuff outside too to make sure that there's no nests or anything in there. So let's do that as this thing's kicking on. All right, so we are out here now. This thing is definitely venting. You can feel the hot air coming out. Doesn't look like we have any nests or anything in there. So we're good. I'm gonna jump in, make sure that heat's pumping, and it looks like the furnace is good. The furnace is going on. You can also hear propane is definitely pumping, which is a good sign. All right, so the heat is definitely working. We're gonna go ahead and turn that off. And now we're going to try our air conditioner. We have a soft start that I installed, so it takes a minute to kick in. There it goes. Starting to blow some cool air, nice. She is a-working. So as you're inside your camper, you want to run around, make sure that all your lights are working. You also want to check your exterior lights. I did replace this bulb a little bit ago and upgrade to a nice LED one. We're also going to double check and make sure our CO2 smoke alarm and propane alarm works. This is our LP detector. I just installed this last year. Our old one did expire. These do expire just like smoke detectors and CO2 detectors. So double check and make sure that your LP or propane gas detector is good and running and has not expired. The other thing that's good to do is to make sure, you know, your struts are working. If you have an area under your bed, a storage area under your bed. It's always a good idea to make sure your blinds are working and that your window's open too. And that everything looks good there. And while you're looking at your windows, you want to make sure and double check and look to see if there's any soft spots or anything around your window, or if it looks like there's any water marks. RVs a lot of times will get water damage that destroys them. And so if you have any leaks or anything, you want to try to catch them as soon as possible. You want to double check your vents and make sure that they open and close properly. And again, double check for water damage. See if you see any rusty or red kind of drip marks around the edges. And you want to make sure that everything looks good. If you're able to see your seal where your vent comes down, you want to check that. Ours is kind of popping up over here, but we do have a Camco vent cover covering this vent as well, so I'm not overly worried about it. Since we're still inside the camper here, I'm going to make sure that all of our doors open up, and I'm going to make sure that the screws are nice and tight, because these do have a tendency to loosen up. A couple other things to check out. If you do have a solar system, you want to make sure that's all operating. We've had our camper at our house for a couple of days. We've been able to monitor that, and everything looks great with that still. And you do want to check your fuse panel as well. Make sure you don't have any blown fuses on your 120 side as well as your 12 volt side. Everything looks good, and you want to make sure that you have extra fuses with you when you're out there camping. So before we head outside, we're just double checking and making sure all of our water lines are good. There's no leaks. Everything looks great in here. It's all nice and dry. And you want to check your water pump. And this is under our kitchen sink. I'm going to double check the bathroom to make sure it all looks good there as well. A couple other things that are worth mentioning. Check your outlets. Check your 12 volt socket if you have that. We use ours for a little power inverter. You know, if you guys have a TV, radio, whatever, just go through, basically check everything out to make sure it's all working and operating. All right, so on the outside of the camper here, one thing that is a really good idea to do is to rotate your tires every single season. We have an appointment with the company that installed these tires here in a couple days to rotate them. They're going to check the air pressure, and then they're going to torque the lug nuts too, which is free, and it came with us buying the tires through them. While you're down here, it's good to look for cracks. We had a couple cracks in our frame last year that we ended up having a guy weld up. And then we're also going to lube up our axle and our MORryde CRE 3000 system because we have the wet bolts. And so we're going to get grease gun on those and make sure that those are good and greased up. As you're checking your tires, don't forget about your spare. On the outside here, you want to make sure that your battery's secure and everything is working good there. You want to make sure all your connections are good, everything is tight. You want to make sure that your jack is good to go. I replaced this probably a month and a half ago, so I know that's all good to go, and that your hitch and everything is working properly. One thing that I do need to do and that you want to double check is if you have an equalizer hitch, you might need to do some adjusting. You can see ours is kind of tilted because I hit a bump. You want to make sure your bubble levels are good. I just installed these a couple weeks ago. I love these. These are awesome. This tells you how many inches you need to add to the left or right side. And if you use those little plastic blocks, each of those are an inch. You want to make sure that your awning bracket is good. We know that we have a busted up awning bracket down here, and we know that we need to replace that. While you're on the outside, you also want to double check your seals around your little luggage doors as well as around your windows. And then I'm actually going to jump up on the roof and make sure everything is good up there. So I'm up on the roof here now. If you have solar panels, you want to make sure that those are clean, that the seals around them look good, and everything is still nice and tight. I just sealed this roof up with the Dicor coating last year. I'll put a link to that video. All my seals are still really good, but you'll want to check around every vent and on the corners of the camper where the roof meets the wall. You also do want to check this vinyl piece right here. I replaced that last year on our camper, so it is good everywhere. And just look around and make sure all your seals everywhere are good. So you want to make sure that both your dump tank valves are good and everything's looking good here, and you want to make sure that your dump hose is working properly as well. Here is a screw that constantly pops out, so I'm just going to throw a little bit of a thread locker on it. See if I just can't tighten that, and hopefully it will stay put now. Alright guys, well that pretty much does it. As far as getting everything ready, if you guys kind of saw the theme, pretty much just check every system in your camper. You're basically just doing a very good thorough inspection and check to make sure everything's working, there's no water intrusion going on, and you're going to be good and safe while you're camping out there on your first trip. So hopefully you'll get some of the bugs worked out before you're actually out in the field camping, because nothing ruins a camping trip faster than, you know, something breaking or something going wrong on your rig. So if there's anything I missed, please put it in the comments section. Otherwise, throw a like if you guys enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.